You know what I would love? Here's what I would love. If a actuary, if a BI is listening to this, if a business analyst is listening to this, if a guy that studied statistics can listen to this, take time and make this video. This video can actually happen. Take all the mass shootings of the last 5-10 years, okay? Create the profile of everybody that did the mass shooting. Put their age, how they got their weapon, if they were on medication, their background, put it all at the top and filter it out. And then take the new policies and changes that's coming up, and then red out the ones that could have been prevented and green out the ones that would have happened no matter what, right? And kind of go through it and break down in a video what that percentage comes down to. Because I think the way they're going, they're just playing politics, and the American people are like, oh, awesome, we passed something. Yeah, it really didn't do anything. No, but we did pass something. No, really didn't do anything. I think we need data, and we need somebody to analyze this like a statistician. Somebody needs to do that. Then we can say, kind of like where I'm going with this is Moneyball. You know how in Moneyball where the guy comes out and he says, look, the only stat that matters is what? On-base percentage. Mm-hmm. You don't win with home runs. You win with on-base percentage. This is the guy that we need to bring. Okay, great. Then we bring him in. Then they open.
And you interviewed that guy multiple times.
I love that guy. So I think a Moneyball concept needs to be applied to this for us to figure out what stat matters the most. Mm-hmm. I don't think we're doing that. That's what I don't think we're doing. I think we're just kind of all talking and.
But I would add. I'm sorry. I would add one extra tick on there.
What's that?
And you touched on it, Roger, a little earlier on. Make a study of how many of the criminal acts with a weapon, that weapon was a legally obtained weapon and in the hands of a legal carry individual. That's a huge statistic. When people quote gun violence, you have to at least be able to focus on where is the base of that violence. And it is the criminal world. And they don't have prosecution. The police can't barely do the job as it is. It is that would be I would love to add that to your tick of things.
I mean, I get it that we have a campaign, where the manager may say, listen, when it comes down to gun violence, here's the 3 points that you have to hit. Boom, boom, boom. That's what you got to go. And then just know these 22 statistics, see which one of these you can remember and recite, but that's where you got to go. But that's marketing. That's not, it's not really a solution. We're just marketing and saying, hey, if they ask you to say that. I'd love to have somebody comes out and actually breaks this down and say, here's what it would have changed and not changed. I don't know.
Well, you're going to have that opportunity. We've now passed these laws. There'll be an election in 2 years. Let's watch the violent crime statistics for those 2 years and see if they really change anything.
Well, no, there's going to be an election in 5 months.
Well,
right?
I understand. That's probably not, in all fairness, and not enough time. Mm-hmm. So let these policies be in place. They're going to be in place because I don't see them being repealed. Yeah. And you'll know in 2 years whether they've made a meaningful change. What needs to happen almost immediately is bail reform. Because right now we have a situation in almost every major city in the country which they've done away with bail, and criminals, recidivist criminals, are right back out on the street, many of them to hurt people again, particularly New York City. So there's, I think, something that has to be reformed almost immediately.
So you know what I also would want to know? Out of all these guys that did a mass shooting, what percentage is alive? What percentage is on the street? What percentage is serving a life sentence? How bad was the price that they paid for it? Is it purely all about a celebrity, the 15 minutes of fame? Is that really what it was all about? Has somebody taken all of these guys and gone and done a documentary to interview every one of these guys to come out with an analysis to say, this is the similarity we noticed?
Whose job is that?
Like,
is that
listen,
FBI? Is that CIA?
No, I don't think they're going to. So even to pull up to see, out of all these mass shooting guys, how many of them were from a single parent? How many of them had a father? I want all of those statistics to see what commonality do we see. You can pull up that data, then we say, listen, these three that you guys keep talking about would only say 5%, but these two would have eliminated 42%. Let's address these two. We're just winging it. It's just like,
is this something you think a public company or a government agency would do, or a private company?
If I was a governor of a state, or if I was a president, I would go hire 10 engineers, from Silicon Valley, and I would bring them from Silicon Valley, from the best places in the world, and I would bring them that politically, I would interview them to make sure they're kind of like, how you hire a jury, and you make sure how they feel politically, they're not linked, or anyway, they don't have an opinion about the guy. I would bring in, you guys are neutral, perfect. Here's $300,000 per year. What's 10 times $300,000? Nothing, chump change. I want you to pull up every data, every stat, everything you can, and give us the exact reason why this is taking place. If the stats are out there, you can pull it up from the FBI. We can find that exactly. This is not going to cost that much money to do. It's $3 million, maybe a $10 million project. Hire the best analyst guys, data guys, put them in a room, pull up all the data. Within 30, 60, 90 days, we can figure this thing out.
But here's the problem with the data. So the other day, you said, we used this story, there were 220.
What is that sound, by the way? I keep hearing a sound like.
Go ahead. I don't hear. Sorry. So there were 226 mass shootings in the United States through whatever it was, 6 months. Do you know what qualifies as a mass shooting? It's 4 people. If over 4 people were shot, not killed, were shot, that qualifies as a mass shooting. Where do you think the majority of that comes from? Gang violence. The majority of mass shootings in the United States aren't kids going and shooting up schools. It's not. I mean, it's gang violence, one. And most of the, again, we covered this. Most of the mass shootings happen with a pistol, not an assault rifle or a rifle or anything like that. By the way,
all of that is part of the data.
Yes, but I think the data can be skewed. But two, it's people don't want to address, first of all, mass shootings as they stand, where it's gang violence, as opposed to mass shootings of, like you say, mentally deranged people walking in, shooting people, and those kinds of things. So again, I think when we say use the data, again, we have to clarify what data are we using.
But Tyler, that's also in the insurance industry. Actuaries actually do that as well. They break down by age, where you realize, when we get table D rating on most of the people that are table D are 55 and up or live in this place, and a lot of them are from this. You can track nationality, you can track sex, you can track married, you can track any of that stuff. But with what you just said, I would add that to the data as well.
Yeah,
I would add, and I would say the mass shooting. You know what we would put on the mass shooting? How many people were involved? This one's 4. Well, 42% of them are only 4. Okay, let's put that in this category by itself. 10% is 10 or more. Let's put that in the category by itself. I don't think this is that complicated. I don't know if they want to find the answer. I don't know if they're...
Well, no, because they want to manipulate it. They want to tell you that there's been 226
dude,
mass shootings.
It's going to take $10 million. You just gave $40 billion to Ukraine. It would take you $10 million to figure this thing out. Put people in a room, get it funded within a 3-month period. You get some answers. But we haven't done that. I don't know why we haven't done that.
Well, let me add on to what Tyler's saying, because you do bring up a good point. If you saw on the headlines 4 people shot in the streets of Chicago, you're like, all right, cool, next story, move on with life. We're so desensitized to these types of stories. Where America is at, where most Americans are yearning, are when we see dead 6-year-olds. Innocent dead 6-year-olds in a classroom. I don't care if you're on the left, you're on the right, we are disgusted by this. And that's what is grabbing the headlines, and that's why literally Congress finally effing did something, and I think it's about time. Whether it's optics, whether it's the sizzle or the steak, remains to be seen. Like Roger said, we'll find out in 2 years if they've done anything, but we're fucking sick of it. We're sick of dead kids in classrooms. We're not sick of what Tyler's basically talking about, which is probably 90+% of the mass murderers is just 5 people got shot on. It's going to happen on July 4th weekend. You can book it down right now across America. Someone in St. Louis shot 5 people, whatever. Next story, keep it moving. We are sick of the classroom shit, though.
My point on this, by the way, people have to take emotions out of these kind of decisions. That's why I like your, document and dissect, because if you look at, forget the 4 people that get shot in New York or whatever, that doesn't count. But schools mass shootings in the last 5 years, give me those numbers. That happens in New York in 3 months. Actually, it probably happens in New York in 2 weeks.
You're saying just in the streets, whatever.
Just in the
Not
streets,
in schools,
just
of
in the
course.
streets. So we cannot focus on the problem emotionally. Yes, I personally, I cannot. If I was in that school, I would have had to go in. I couldn't live with myself. I could not live with myself if I didn't go in there and try to help them out. But that is still a minority, and it is very serious. And use that tipping point to make things make sense. And I think that approach of statistics, not skew the statistics, I think would help create a real plan that they can implement.
So I run one too many companies to do this. I would have done this myself as a project just to turn it into a documentary. To a 60, even a 70-minute, 75-minute documentary, just to go out there and say, let me tell you what approach we took this. Here's the problem. Here's the approach we took. We wanted to find out what's going on. This is the data we came up with. Okay, and we brought 5 people from the left, 5 people from the right, 5 people in the middle. They all have strong opinions. We all want to find out. We're all open to finding out what's going on, what the solution is. Here's what we're proposing to the world. I would take that approach.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.